We want to talk about football's fair play rules. I can't say I really understand what they are. Can you explain, Shane?
Yeah, we'll try and make this sexy for people without making it sound like Walter White's car wash and Breaking Bad and all that musky dealings. So basically in the Premier League, and you'll have seen it, a lot of people will have seen it recently with Everton being docked 10 points, Nottingham Forest being charged as well. We're waiting to see what will happen with Manchester City and Chelsea. But essentially these profit and sustainability rules, or financial fair play as you call it as well, really, in order to comply with these profit rules, Premier League clubs cannot lose more than £105 million over a 3-year period. So their accounts are, of course, naturally checked very, very in depth. And Everton were handed their 10-point deduction because they overspent and recorded a loss of £124.5 million. So 124 versus the limit of 105.
Okay, now they obviously have good bankers who actually will loan them the money to allow them to sustain these losses. But so 105, and they were what, 124, you're saying?
Exactly, so 19 million over.
And that got them 10 points docked.
Yeah, which can seem harsh. Now, Everton and Farhad Mashiri, the incoming owner, would say, and there are a lot of ways in which clubs try to get under these numbers. Interest rates on stadiums would be one of them. Now Everton were hoping for an influx of money for sponsors of the stadiums. That was postponed, didn't happen. So a lot of these clubs are, of course, planning for X amount of money, and X amount of money doesn't come in. Nottingham Forest's appeal is incoming. They have 14 days basically from that charge on Monday in which to appeal. But it appears they've gone over. We don't know by how much, but gone over the 105 as well.
But you're looking at about 2 million per, or two, what is it? 1 point for every 2 million. Basically. Which
seems very harsh. And the thing, and all of the fans at Goodison Park will be sitting waiting on Manchester City's ruling, because this ruling is to come probably in the autumn of this year, Pat. Well, certainly the trial will begin in the autumn of this year. It's likely next summer, as in summer 2025.
Okay, but there's 101 allegations against them.
115.
115, is it?
Yes, which, I mean, it's insane.
Yeah. So suppose they fall foul of these regulations. Mm-hmm. Do they have to give back their trophies? Do they have to give back the money? If you win the Premier League, you get more money than those who follow. What happens?
Well, you see, there's money, as you know, in the Premier League for every single position in which and if you finish in the top 4, I mean, there's a lot more money there for Champions League, etc., etc. So the likes of Liverpool, Tottenham Hotspur, Arsenal are looking very, very carefully.
See, what I'm thinking is Everton are playing this season with the 10-point docking. If Manchester City, because of the history of all of this, if they were playing when they should have had multiple points docked from them, I mean, they wouldn't maybe be in the Champions League. They would,
Yeah.
How do you restore justice when it's taken so long to process?
It's like looking back at the Olympics and giving people medals after years later, after doping stuff comes to the fore. I mean, Leeds United, Leicester City, Burnley and Southampton are all looking at the Everton situation and apparently sitting tight by their legal advisors going, well, we were relegated to the Championship in seasons whereby Everton were very, very close to being relegated to the Championship, and the money involved in that, never mind the Champions League.
So had they lost the 10 points then, we would not have gone down.
Exactly. So, and a lot of these clubs have they have cases, and certainly if Nottingham Forest case is also.
You see, from the Champions League's point of view, they qualified because they qualified on the pitch, as it were. But if they would have been disqualified from winning the Premier League, they would have no place in the Champions League. So how can that injustice be remedied?
Well, then you look at the treble that Manchester City won last year, and you say absolutely 100%. You look at the Premier League trophy, and you look by default at the Champions League trophy as well, and you think, well, there's a lot of issues there. And Man City,
it's an appalling vista, to quote the late Lord Denning about the Birmingham Six.
Yeah,
it was so appalling that he couldn't entertain it. I mean, is that what's going to happen here? The complexities generated by a Man City docking would be so enormous. That they can't contemplate it.
It would be probably one of the biggest news. The Super League was so big at the time, but this would be the biggest story in world football in a long, long time. I mean, when City were taken over by the Shaikh back in 08, 09, this was at the peak of football starting to dive into areas of unknown wealth. I mean, it was just after Abramovich had taken over Chelsea a few years before as well. And this was an area in which, I mean, Pep Guardiola has often had a siege mentality around this whole thing. He said Man City are being attacked because of their success. And yet, because of financial fair play now, his rivals are being punished, because Arsenal, for example, need to sign a striker in this transfer window if they can. But the reality is they can't, because they have to come within FFP, and they're that close to coming the wrong side of it. So
even though it's a 3-year span.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, so clubs like Chelsea, for example, and this is I said I would make it sexy, Pat. Amortization is the word that a lot of accountants listening will understand and have come across. Chelsea have been delving into this lovely little word of amortization in recent years. Essentially, what it means is stretching the contracts of new signings over a prolonged, protracted period of time in which to spread out the transfer fee. So sign a player for 70, 80 million pounds, spread the contract over 8 years, which is ridiculous because the player is never... Mykhailo Mudryk is
long gone.
Exactly, long gone. But it means that over that 3-year period in which they are targeted, they can probably come just within that £105 million as well. So it's very smart by Chelsea.